gentlemen around the world, to the Gentleman's Lounge. I'm Peyton, and I'm your host of the Gentleman Handbook Podcast. Today's topic is the art of conversation. The art of conversation can be a powerful tool in making friends, making connections, or gaining the interest of women that you like. With the intro out of the way, let's get started with number one. Number one, listen intently. Oftentimes, people listen to respond rather than to understand. The key to listening intently is to make direct eye contact while an individual is speaking with you. Remove distractions such as phones, etc. from view. This makes the individual feel valued, which subconsciously opens them up to trusting you. An individual will feel like the center of attention and will get a positive emotional release from speaking with you. So how many times have you been in a conversation and you made the mistake of not making direct eye contact? I know many times people don't like making direct eye contact because it kind of makes them feel uncomfortable. It's like kind of holding eye contact with a stranger sometimes can be uncomfortable. But the way to make yourself more comfortable while holding direct eye contact, right? So let's say you got your cell phone. What you do is you put it out of view like this, and you listen, and you're talking, and they're telling you something, and you're just listening, and you're looking in their eyes while you're listening to them talk. See, it's not like you're just staring at them in the face while they're not talking. That's strange. If you see someone across the room and you just direct eye contact, but not saying any words or not listening to someone. So that's when it's weird. But it's seen as complimentary whenever you're making direct contact, eye contact, while someone's actually speaking with you. And a lot of times this is not, practiced anymore because people use social media as a means to communicate rather than actual real life face-to-face communications. And just know that real life face-to-face communications will always be the better option over internet communications because sometimes, as the old saying goes, it just comes down to I need to look a man in the eye before I can make that decision. Number two, body language and tone. Body language and tone are more important than what you say. Body language is a way to convey emotions and intent. One's body language will give away someone's feelings much better than their words. People rarely remember what you say in a conversation. What they do, however, remember is how you made them feel. Smile and shake your head up and down to show the person that you're conversing with that you are genuinely interested in what they are telling you. So back to the eye contact first before we get back to the body language. So you making eye contact and you're like, okay, right? What you're showing that person is that not only am I listening to you, right? I'm actually giving you feedback on what you're saying. So you're listening and you're giving feedback. Body language is important. How many of you guys have ever been in a relationship with a woman and you come home, and you see her body language is weird. You're like, what's wrong with you? And she said, nothing. But you know something's clearly wrong with her because her body language is telling you something that her words are not telling you. That's the key to body language. A lot of times when you have good body language, when someone's telling you something and you're listening, right? This is not good body language. That's crazy. For real? Wow. That tells the person you're not interested at all in anything they're saying, right? But body language is very key to good conversation because conversation is not just your mouth. It's also your body. It's basically everything involved in conversation. So if your body language is you're tapping your foot while someone's talking, it's not good body language, right? If you're rocking from left to right, if you're like feeling impatient, looking impatient, right? The words that you're saying may not add up to what you really think because your body language is showing us something different. Number three, this is huge. This is the one that'll put you over the top. This one is probably, I'm not gonna say the most important, but it gives you a little extra icing on top. If you have the cake, this is the icing. Pay attention to detail. Noticing small things about an individual during a conversation will give you glowing marks. Contemplating one's new haircut, new outfit, or noticing that they lost weight will always give you positive points. Picking up on accents is another way to pay attention to detail. So let's say you meet an individual, it doesn't even have to be a woman. Let's say you meet a guy, you shake his hand and you listen to him talk, say, hey, I think I know that accent. And you say, hey, are you from, let's say, Guadalajara, Mexico, all right? I've never been to Guadalajara, Mexico. Well, let's say you say, is that a Guadalajaran accent? He's like, hey, how do you know? He's like, well, actually, I went to Guadalajara last year. I really enjoyed myself. Great city, right? And he's like, wow, this guy went to Guadalajara, to my town, and then you guys are discussing different things about the experiences you had, and he's talking about the experience he's had. It gives him a warm feeling, right? Let's say you meet a girl and you see that, you just have a good eye, and you see that she has on a certain kind of bracelet or something. He's like, oh, is that a such and such? He's like, yeah, how do you know? Yeah. It's like, oh, I like that one, right? It's just simple. Or You notice somebody lost a little bit of weight, like, oh, okay, I see you, keep going. That's a positive feeling when you're having that conversation with somebody. And what that does is it makes a person get those warm feelings inside. And when a person gets those warm feelings inside, they have positive emotions, memories about you, and they kind of want to open up a little bit more to you. They want to talk to you a little more. Because I've actually, been in those situations. That's one thing that I always use. It's kind of charming when you notice the small things, pick up on small things. It's very charming, and people enjoy charming people. So number 4 is very important. You can't avoid it forever, but it happens. And when you first meet somebody, it's best to avoid controversy. I remember growing up, people used to say, avoid talking about money and politics. I don't know what the money issue is, but definitely you need to avoid talking about politics, religion, social justice, all of those things, because these things people will kind of put you in a corner and try to see what side you're on, and you don't know what side they're on. You may look at them and say, they're probably this. They're probably, let's say you're probably Republican, but they might not be, right? And you might say, yeah, I'm against Trump. And then they'll be like, oh, me too. Or you might say, oh, I'm definitely a Democrat. And they'll be like, I'm not. I'm a Republican. It's just going to cause unnecessary controversy. So if possible, avoid subjects such as religion, politics, and social issues. These topics are very divisive and often lead to serious disagreements. Think before you speak. Sometimes avoiding negative topics will lead to better conversation. Also, think to oneself, how will this land if I say it? Or does it have to be said by me? If it doesn't have to be said, don't say it. Now, I'll be the first to admit I'm guilty of sometimes making jokes, off-colored jokes, but not directly to the person at times. When it comes down to it, I remember I met a woman. I was out with one of my business partners. We were out at Vandal, and he had met some women, and I just went into the conversation, to assist, because it was like 2 women, just him. So I went in to assist, and I noticed the woman was very, very controversial. The woman that I was talking to, she was, talking about religion. I kind of try to avoid religion when first meeting somebody, but she was forcefully wanting to talk about religion. Well, what do you believe? And I was like, well, is that really important? You see, so it's kind of like she's kind of trying to paint me into a corner and make me divulge my belief system, right? But you do believe this, right? And it comes down to, it's like, oh yeah, you're controversial. And not that I was interested in it whatsoever, but if I had interest in it at the time, I would be like, no thanks. You're doing too much. If you're just controversial on my first meeting you, how much more controversial are you after? If this is how you act when I don't know you, who are you once I get to know you? How much worse can it get? Because people tend to put on their best behavior, right? They put on their Sunday's best when they first meet you. So if you put on your Sunday's best and your Sunday's best is controversial and argumentative, I mean, what's your Monday look like? And that's the point. That's why you need to avoid controversy, because controversial topics brings up a range of negative and angry emotions. As you can see, the country we live in, you have some people who are, right, they say you're far right, you're far left, right? You got people who want to cancel certain people. You got people who don't want to be canceled. You got the religious people fighting with the non-religious people. You have even the religious people fighting with each other, right? Social issues and bringing up things like Black Lives Matter, things like that. Sometimes it's best to just avoid those conversations altogether. Because what you're doing is, right, what you're creating in someone else's mind, they're painting a picture of you in their mind. And what they're painting is only positivity, right? So what they're getting from the conversation is like, well, this guy's cool, man. Every time I talk to him, it's always something good. We always have a good time. We joke. We really don't talk about things that I don't like to talk about. Because you have to understand that every individual human being has something different that they may believe, feel, think, want. And you could basically step on those ideas upon first meeting the person. Later on, after meeting the person, right, if you talk about a few things that's controversial and you've built equity with that person, they won't be as easily to walk away from you and not want to deal with you. So, but on first meeting the person, like the woman I talked about, right, and when she basically tried to force me to talk about controversial subjects that I didn't want to speak about, right, we had built no equity up, so I had no problem with saying no thanks, and I remember one particular time I was talking to a woman. This was years ago. Really, I wasn't even talking to her. It was me and my brother. We was out at the jazz market. You know, on a Wednesday nights, the jazz market does these live performances for like amateurs. And I remember just standing outside waiting, and a woman came up to me and was like, "Oh, this plant told me you was talking to me." Now, one, that's just not my thing. But I continue to converse with her, give her another opportunity. I said, "Okay, well, what's going on?" She's talking to me, and then she's talking to me about the mystical power, healing powers of crystals, which again is not my thing. And I'm just like, okay. We talking, and she's like, "Yeah, I got this crystal for this crystal for that, this crystal for this." So she had like 3 different crystals. One was for depression, one was for self-esteem, and one was for like mood. And in my mind, what I gathered from that conversation, which she probably didn't mean to do, was that you're a depressed person, you have a lot of issues, and the issues you do have, you can't solve them from by yourself. That you need some fictional mystical help to solve them, right? That's what I thought, because that's what I gathered from the conversation. You know, that you need these crystals as a way to basically do for you what you couldn't do for yourself, which to me was saying, that's not what I want in my life, right? But if she would have just kept to these 4 rules, we could have had a great conversation. I'd be like, wow, you know what I mean? You cool. You know, every once in a while, after you have a great conversation, you can reel off into some of these things if, you know, you after you gauge from talking to the person, if it is within bounds. But she didn't even take the time to go through to listen intently, right? Because I'm a man of few words. When I don't know you, I don't really say anything, because there's a power in silence. But I'm a man of few words if you don't know me. Most people who don't know me have never really heard me say a word. I remember when me and my brother were roommates when I was living up in Ruston. It was like me, my brother, one of my frat brothers, and my girlfriend, right? We was all, me and my girlfriend, she had a room, but we was all roommates. And my frat brother was like a rapper. So a lot of people used to come to the house. My brother used to know a lot of people. He's just that kind of guy. And people would always think I was dangerous. They're like, "Man, what's wrong with your brother, man? I'm not messing with him. He's just quiet all the time. He don't say nothing, man." But I'm just a quiet guy when I don't know you. And when you're quiet sometimes, you know, it gives you a sense of power. And that's what I try to do when I approach conversations initially. I try to let the other person do most of the talking. You know, so it gives me an opportunity to better get to know them. So, but that's all I have for you guys today. That's it. I'm out. Peace.